Hi guys. Last time we stopped at the Russia versus China. Russia had a disaster when they used the so-called shock therapy, and China is basically, let's call it the growth therapy. They put one is like putting political reform ahead of economic growth, and the other is like let the growth go first, and then it turns out to be a very sharp contrast between two countries. One is, you know, at least for a short time, for one decade, is a disasters. Okay, like human-made disasters. For China, on the other hand, it's like several decades of prosperities. It's very, very different. So I'm not here saying that one solution applies to every country. That's the thing that I've been always wanting to say, that economic growth is a symphony. Don't make it this looks like a solo performance. Okay, so that's one thing. Another thing is that don't try to apply the same solution for all over the countries, all over the time. So that's very important. We must allow diversity. Okay, and that's the same thing for humans. So if you ask me, what's the secret code for longevity? You know, there's one doctor that I cited, like 102 years old. He says his secret is exercise, daily exercise, not just something trendy, but you have to do that every day. I'm sure that works out for him. But when it comes to when you need to come together, putting all the pieces together to have a puzzle, then you have to think about all different kind of solutions. For somebody maybe exercise, another maybe diet, another maybe like not using drugs, those kind of things. Still another one maybe like to have a positive outlook of the future, to have a social connections, those kind of things. So when you put this together, you need to combine, all these things together. Don't try to reduce that to one thing. It sounds attractive. Because it's a psychological trap. People always like the simple solutions. And if you tell them, okay, you have to do this in order to live long, or you have to do that, and then that's not work, because that's why essentially a lot of the scholars are doing. One is like one sport like AJR. They're saying I call them like a hammer nail or symptom. Okay, they have an institutional hammer in their hand, and they see everything as the hammer, and then apply this hammer to the nail. And then for the other people may say, okay, this is a human capitals, and even some, somebody that I think there's one scholar, I forgot his name. He is arguing that we have to allow the dictators role. Very good point. Very good point. And what about that geography? The HAR basically shoot down the geography to say that that's not the it's not what the growth is about. But today, if you think about it, if you look at it, even today, when the economy is still so, we have high technology, high level technology, geography, geographical resources still matters. That's why people in this country get excited when they found some hydrogen underneath the Kansas, I believe, or other countries in like France. They discovered some other resources. So it still matters. You don't want to, eliminate it easily somebody and say that that's not it. Let's dump it away. So we again, when the best way to put it is that it's a symphony, not a solo performance of any single element. So this is the one of the key things. But having said that, I also want to say this. For most developing countries in the world today, I still think they should learn more from China than from Russia. Don't follow the economist from a developed country from the U.S. and saying, okay, you have to put the property right first, and then before you do everything else. That turns out to be disastrous because they forgot this U.S. economist forgot that there's no magic formula applies to every country. Just because it succeeded in the 17th century England, it does not says nothing at all about, or I should not say that, says little about whether we're a success in another developing countries. That is, so given consider that, I would think that China's experience shows them that it is beneficial for them to grow the economy, and then sometimes when when the income level raises, then it's like the whole river of water raised up, and then some of the we're not saying, again, we don't want to go to from one extreme to another. We're not saying that the economic growth solves everything. Okay, but we must put that in. We don't make that the simple regression model that institution is the independent variable and the economic growth is a dependent variable. We just put them into simultaneous equation model. So we have one equation for growth, another equation for institution, where for that formula, economic growth is part of it. Okay, so that's the way to solve it. There's no secret code for you to crack out. So that's it. So one concern may be that if you want to try to piece everything together into a comprehensive model, you got a comprehensive. Okay, you got a completeness, but you lost the excitement because you're basically saying that the curve is flat. For the same for every country. No, you don't have to do that because if you think about it, the product curve can have like a increase in marginal return and decrease in diminishing marginal return, and even negative marginal return. So those kind of things make that more exciting. Make the model more exciting. But essentially, we are looking for something that can have an increasing marginal return at initially. Okay, and then, for example, in China is a good example. When Mao Zedong, after Chairman Mao, decades of Mao's reign, put in political campaign, put in mass campaign of a political movement, and then people live with that. However, and see how quickly excuse me, Deng Xiaoping essentially got a bonus from Mao Zedong, from Chairman Mao. Why? Because after years of Mao's ruling, and then people actually, they have accumulated some motivation to see the changes. And then so when Deng Xiaoping says, okay, it's nice for us to have some people get rich first, and suddenly, boom, everybody's doing that. So you'll be surprised. So that's why I think to some extent that we have a non-democracy bonus in China. Because with democracy, when there's a democracy, a lot of things will be forbidden, right? Remember the institutions, it's all about a constraint, right? So democracy put a lot of constraint. Not a lot of things that say, no, you can't do that, you can't do that. But China says, what the heck, let's develop first, let's get rich first, okay? And then that build a social consensus, and that's a magic power, okay? So let's stop here.